Welcome to the Vision Vixen Podcast. Our guest today is a creative and music consultant, activist, feminist, and founder of Goodseed Marketing PR. She also has over 15 years of experience in the music and entertainment industry and has worked with the likes of Marilyn Manson, Cyndi Lauper, Counting Crows, and Duran Duran. She's also a leader in gender equality on the radio and is the founder of WhyNotHer. Without further ado, today's guest is Coogan Byrne. If you're watching us here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and you can also check us out on audio on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and on Podbean. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy our episode. Okay, so Linda, welcome to our podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's lovely to talk to you. Haven't seen you in a while, so it's even better.
Yeah, now we get to do over Zoom, face to face. But Linda, obviously, I've known you for over just about a year now, I'd say, and been watching all the incredible work that you've been doing. I was then just doing some more research on you, and oh my God, you are in truth a creative. Like, you are just a creator. I'm like, what isn't she doing? From your Goodseed marketing, from your WhyNotHer, from all of the reports that you're doing about gender inequality on the radio. And I was like, where am I going to start with this woman? Because there's no way I can just pick one area. Where do you feel that your career actually began?
I mean, music was always a passion for me. Art was where creatively where I began was art. Art was always the main thing. And yeah, just from art, I kind of grew into music and playing different instruments. And I got into PR. I studied as a luthier, which is a person that makes Renaissance stringed instruments. So I loved that, absolutely loved it. And studied that for about 3 years. And then just by default of just meeting loads of celebrities and actors and stuff that passed through, I just got into more and more music and did a lot of acting as well. And just kind of music really just won me over. I kind of went away from the more practical side of art and creating stuff and just moved into the music industry. And I mean, I played in so many different types of bands and then got into the business side of it. And the business side was what really captivated me, because I understood then the inner workings of how an artist is made and how an artist is developed and what goes on behind the scenes. So that kind of, in a nutshell, that's the kind of journey that I took. So it started off in art, and then it just evolved into music, and then project management and music sync and PR. And then I started the company and start working with a lot of the bands that I grew up listening to, which was amazing.
Amazing. So, yeah, I've seen that you were working with Cyndi Lauper, Counting Crows, Duran Duran. What an incredible experience. How that is the stuff of dreams. Like, how can you go from being a girl interested in art, interested in music, and moving to Galway, and then all of a sudden you're with these big names?
I don't know. I was actually talking to someone else the other day, and we were talking about imposter syndrome and how so many people feel that, the positions that they end up being in and the situations they end up being in, they kind of feel like, oh God, like, how did I get here? And, I was always a hard worker. I worked my way from the bottom of the heap, and I think, a lot of people kind of, some people are lucky and they get to places by just accident and coincidence and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it was just a lot of kind of networking and studying your craft and practicing and kind of expanding out and stuff. And it's there's highs and lows. Obviously, like, Keith passed away, and there's been bands over the years where you see the other side of music and you see the mental health aspects and the heaviness and the weight that notoriety and fame brings you. So it's been a really interesting learning experience as well as a professional kind of journey.
Just going back to let's go back to the business side and the transition you made from being an artist to working in the business. If you were to kind of break it down into a step-by-step or just a little outline of how you managed to transition, because I think that there's so many people who are incredibly artistic, have so much gifts, but they don't get to actually create a life from it.
I read, and this is going to sound as cliched to hell. I'm conscious of that person. Because cliched as it is, I read so many self-help books. I read, not only self-help books, but, CBT, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I love that side of the human psyche and learning about it and how to overcome different parts of, your self-conscious, stuff like that, so it was a real kind of, it was a real conscious kind of journey of, right, I want to do this well, and how am I going to do this well? And just equipping yourself with being able to do it. And again, not having that imposter syndrome, not having that, oh God, I'm in this situation. Because I remember I started off the first year of starting Goodseed, I cold called different PR companies, and we're kind of, just asking for advice, especially for women in PR. And I remember this woman who shall not be named, and she's from a PR agency in Cork. And I rang, I said, hi, I'm just starting and I was 21, 22. And she said, you know what? She says, there's not a snowball's chance in hell you would ever do anything in music, ever. And I said, okay, yeah. And I hung up the phone and I said, Jesus. And then she went and emailed it to me and said, look, I don't know what you're doing, ringing people and seeking advice. You have to pay for this kind of thing and all. And I was kind of going, Jesus. I was literally just introducing myself and just saying, hi, I'm new on the scene. And anyway, then she wrote it down. So what I did, instead of being like rage and stuff, I printed it out and I put it on my wall. And I also put on my wall loads of different bands I grew up listening to, like Marilyn Manson, The Prodigy, Underworld, Groove Armada, loads of really cool bands, Counting Crows, Ron Sexsmith, all these different bands from loads of different areas. And I said, I'm going to work with all of that. And I just, every day I worked from 6 a.m. to 10, sometimes midnight, and just really honed in my skill set. And within 2 years, I had taken over most of her clients, that woman that sent me that thing, that had a snowball's chance in hell, and just became really kind of, I don't know how it kind of happened. I mean, I don't know how it happened, but a lot of things in life is the right time at the right place. And at that time, Facebook had launched, Twitter had launched, Instagram wasn't out at the time. And a friend of mine had rang me from Boards, Dara Doyle, lovely guy, and he said, Linda, you have to get onto Twitter. And he said, it's going to be huge. And I was like, I don't know. And he said, do it. He said, you'd be the first company to do it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so we went onto Twitter, and I just found Twitter an amazing platform to connect with people that weren't necessarily in your area, but you could branch out and make different connections. So we were one of the first companies in Ireland to use Twitter and to utilize that as a platform. So then that journey of kind of social media and understanding social media marketing, taken away from traditional media, was really interesting. So it was just really having your finger on the pulse, educating yourself, surrounding yourself with really good people. And if people along the way put you down, turn it around to your favor, because I used that as a kind of, to egg myself on. And then there was another instance where I met this well-known PR, a guy in Dublin, and I was working with a client that he had on as well. I was working the regional radio, and he was working national. And he said, he goes, you're like a parked Lada, and I'm like a Formula One racing past you. He said, you're never going to do anything. And I said, okay. And it was, and there was just loads of them instances where people just put you down, women and men. A lot of people kind of think, oh, she's a feminist, she's all again, but women are just as bad as men in perpetuating misogyny. So you take the good with the bad, and even when you get the bad, you turn it around and turn it into something that's going to propel you on.
I think I just absolutely love that story. I love how you took that, you printed it and put it on your wall, and you used that as a driving force.
I actually ended up working with everyone that I put up on the wall, so it was great.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, I'm all into vision boards and writing down what your goals and believing they're true. So I think that's incredible, Linda. So obviously where you've come now hasn't come without challenges, and as you mentioned previously, the mental health side of the music industry and the darker side. Has there been a time throughout your career where you're like, I actually don't think I can get through this?
The only time was like about 4 years ago when my grandmother had cancer, and that really offset my focus on what I was doing, and work was going so well, and I just got a book deal. And I was in the middle of writing a book, and I had all this pressure on me. And then I realized, right, my nana is terminal. I only get to have this moment with her, or else I try to continue working. And I think women especially go through this because women are usually put people before them, even if they are that, business savvy. When something happens in a personal life aspect, they kind of go, okay, well, I have to put that to one side and just focus on this. And I think that is a unique thing that happens to a lot of women in business. And I had to make the decision as to whether to stop working altogether and focus on my nana, or else try and split it in two. And I tried to split it in two for the first few months, but it just wasn't working, because I kept thinking in my head, oh, this is the last time I'll get to spend with her. Like, why am I working here? Why am I doing this? So I delegated, and that was a really big thing that I learned about delegation, and just kind of passing things on to your co-workers. So I hired a team, and I literally handed over the company for about a year and a half to an external team, and it was fine. And it was that kind of process of stepping away from your baby that you're after kind of building up, and just letting it kind of sit there. And it was one of the best decisions I made. And then sadly, my nana passed away, and the few months that followed were very, very tough. And I thought, what am I doing? I don't want to do anything anymore. And you really have that like sitting with grief parts where you kind of go, what is it all about? And I couldn't be, prior to my nana passing away, I couldn't imagine a life without her in it.
Of course.
So it was kind of, she brought me up. She was like my mother. And she used to come into the office and she'd pack CDs. The day where physical was very big. Now it's all digital. So she was quite a fundamental part of the journey of, my work profession. I think that was the main period where it was really tough to kind of go, right, well, how do I continue this? And that led me to going down 2 or 3 years later to kind of see more of the things that were wrong in the industry. I kind of have the courage to speak more about it, because I spent a lot of time with my nana, and we talked about her upbringing. Like, she was 90 when she died, and she was talking about like how she had to bring up her brothers, and she, as a woman, she was always putting people in front of her. And she spoke about the suffragette movement, and she was in the Red Cross during World War and stuff, and just all she had done. But I hadn't known she'd done these things, but I knew everything that my granddad done. But I was kind of going, wow, this is amazing, all these things that you've done as a woman. And she was like, well, people don't talk about stuff that women do, and just a lot of stuff, So so that led to a complete change, a 360 in my work ethic and how I viewed my role and stuff like that. So I think that would be the biggest obstacle, but it actually turned out to be a very life-changing kind of experience. And I did survive when she passed away, and I did because the strength that she instilled in me, was enough to kind of keep going,
Wow. So that is just another, I guess, example of kind of turning that hardship into something even bigger. Because just like you say, I completely agree. Women in business or the arts or whatever it is, we don't tend to voice it too much. And if we do voice it, a lot of us are labeled as loud, or, stuck up, or, oh, that one thinks she's great. When actually just saying, no, these are my accomplishments. This is what I do. So I'm so with you on that. And I just think that your work with everything you're doing with gender equality is incredible. Can you please tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah. So with everything that happened in the kind of last 2 years when Nana passed away and stuff, I just came more and more, I suppose braver would be the word, because I always seen the inequality that happened in the industry, but a lot of people don't want to speak about it because it's your industry and it's your job. And you don't want to piss people off. And if you're a woman giving out, it's not like a man giving out. It's like, oh, like I remember being at music fest, because I worked so many music festivals. Oh my God. And I remember even though I'd have the biggest acts, the headliners at festivals, it would always be, oh, can I get a coffee? Can I get the coffee here? Or is she like the runner? And I'm like, I'm the fucking label manager. Okay, I cursed. But I mean, it's just that kind of thing going, oh my God, what more do I have to do? I have achieved so much in my life, but people still look at me and think I am a coffee person that, goes to get the chores, but, I'm after putting this band here, So it was kind of a build up, and then talking to other women in music and hearing their stories, and then the sexual harassment and I dyed my hair dark for years because I just, all the blonde jokes, all the bimbo jokes, no matter what I've done. And it was just, and I know that there's a privilege saying that, because I work a lot with a lot of women in music, women of colour in music now, and they face so much in adversity. It's terrible. Like, So I also come from a place of privilege when I say, oh God, because I have blonde hair and blue eyes, I was the object of, sexual harassment. But it was really, really hard. And, especially with someone that throughout my life, I kind of struggled with insecurities and stuff like that, to be for like your work acumen to be so centered around how you look, what your appearance is. So all of that kind of combined, and people just never taking me serious, I kind of went, you know what, I'm going to speak about it. And then when COVID happened, I live in London, and I went home to go to my niece's 18th, and the country went on lockdown, so I couldn't get back to the UK. So we ended up staying in my younger sister's place for 4.5 months. And it was the first time I'd kind of got to know my sister and my nieces in that capacity, because it was such an unusual thing to happen. So I think with the security blanket that family unit kind of gave me, I kind of went, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish off the report, because I'd started it and it was a report on the gender disparity across Irish radio and how much they don't play Irish female musicians. So the report was only a year report, but research-wise, I went back 10 years, and there's literally been hardly any female artists from Ireland on heavy rotation playlists across Irish radio. The last successful female to come from Ireland was Sinead O'Connor. Laura Isibora had one track over the last 20 years, and you're just kind of going, what is happening? Like, why is this? Like, why is this happening? So the study just examined that, and I released it, and not knowing what would happen. I mean, I kind of was very nervous, because I was like, I put it up on my own Twitter account, and I just said, I'm going to put it up, and then I'm going to service it out to press that I know and media that I know. Anyway, long story short, the report went out within the first month. It ended up getting out to over 20 million people. It trended about 5 or 6 times on Instagram and on Twitter, and it got massive attention from media, from press. Radio had absolute hernia. They were like, what the hell? I got loads of phone calls from different radio people going, why are you putting us on the limelight? What the hell? Wow. And I said, it isn't about you, and I DJs ringing me, and presenters, and heads of music, and why are you putting us in the lamb to the slaughter? And I said, what about the women of Ireland that are making music the last decade, who have been told no, they're not good enough, and that really was a moment of clarity, where I was kind of going, right, well, this is the next step in my career. I want to do activism more. I want to speak on out for those that don't have a voice, or that are afraid, because a lot of the time artists won't give out about not getting played, because then they fear they won't be played at all. It was just this kind of looking at these women that have come up and shaped the culture of music and pop music and stuff. Because I've worked with so many, like from Suzanne Vega to Alison Moyet, like all these amazing women, Lucinda Williams, Lucy Spraggan, like just amazing artists. And you're just kind of going, these women aren't being given the support that they should be given. And, whereas men are just, it's totally homogenized. It's mostly, in Ireland anyway, it's totally white men with guitars, and they all sound the same. To be honest, you could turn on the radio and you'd be like, it's not like, I mean, all sounds, but so that's what happened. So in COVID, I put out a report, and it just did really well. And then I was speaking to a friend of mine in the UK, and she runs a company called Women in Control, and they're all about empowering women. And so she said, what are you going to do next? And I said, I want to do the UK. So she was kind of like, whoa, you want to do the UK? And I said, yeah, do it with me. So I spoke about it with her for about a month, because, obviously she was like, okay, well, this is a big thing if we put this out. And I said, look, I'll do it if you do it with me, because obviously the UK is a bigger place. So, the industry's, population and stuff like that. So anyway, so we did a report on the UK, and we put that out, and that got over like 46 million or something hits. So it was huge. And the Guardian ran the exclusive, and the Independent, everyone followed, Sunday Times, like loads of different people. Becky Hill ended up speaking out about it, and loads of different artists and producers, and it was just amazing. So it's after kind of starting this kind of female empowerment within the music industry between the UK and Ireland, on women kind of saying, well, why not me? Like, so then I started the WhyNotHer campaign, which is a campaign focused on asking the question, why not her? There's a lot of lack of diversity and equality across the board with, with racial issues as well as gender issues. So I just wanted to kind of address that, because nobody had before. You know, I met with the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland, and their exact words after going around in circles for an hour on a Zoom call with three of them from the team there, I went, you know what? Many have come before you and many will come after you. You know, good luck to you. Good luck to you. We can't do anything because radio there's no rules or regulations as to what they can do. They can do what they want. So good luck. So I said, right, okay, you are the Broadcasting Authority. So so it was just kind of, I spoke to a lot of the leaders and the people that are supposed to be within the best interests of women and equality and diversity. But you know, a lot of times those in power let the people down. Like, look at the Irish government right now with the mother and baby homes. My God, they're started on that. So it's just about empowering yourself, empowering other people, and just realizing that if we want change to happen, we can actually be the actors of change. So that was what that was about. So we've just signed a massive contract with one of the biggest countries in the world, which will be announced in the new year. And so it's going to just be a huge shift in the industry outside of the UK and Ireland as well. So it's really exciting.
That is really amazing. So if someone wanted to support this movement that you're doing, what would be the best way?
Just go to WhyNotHer.net is the website, and everything is there. It's about empowering, you know, diversity and empowering women of colour, women of all areas within the music industry, be it producers, DJs, performers, writers, and just kind of having your say. It's a safe space for people to talk about their experiences as well. I just want to mention the Fair Play Collective also, who are a brilliant collective of women in Ireland. And they just did a campaign called Misha Fosta. And they have done amazing work in supporting young women and young girls who have been abused or sexually assaulted within the music, traditional and folk world. So they're doing wonderful work as well, and kind of supporting and acting as a beacon of hope for them. So they're also really amazing to hook up with. And we're all it's all about kind of supporting each other and being there and having a network of, you know, women it's just a safe space. Because I think up until the last year or so, it was a very turbulent, especially with the Me Too campaign and all these women coming out with their stories, and kind of we're all looking at each other going, you too, you know, and it's like, yeah, me too, you know. So it's kind of like, oh my God. And it's just, I think there's definitely an energy shift out there. I don't know whether you believe in energy or anything, but there's certainly 100%. Seems to be some sort of a international or global energy shift with women, and they're just being empowered to speak out. And I think it's wonderful, and I think long may it last, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I second that. And I just love to see that. I do feel like women are coming together. I think in the past we were probably pitted against each other more, whereas now I even find in my own business or any projects that I do, women are just so open to helping each other and kind of learning from each other. And as you say, it's like, long may it last.
Yeah.
What I loved, Linda, was when you started to do the research study, did you have any prior experience to doing that, or you're just like, I'm going to do research study?
No. I mean, I am so in love with data right now. Like, I mean, I didn't realize the power that data had. And the reason being is that if I hadn't just done a report, right, based on my opinion as a woman, it would have been disregarded. It would have been just, oh, another angry feminist is blah, blah, blah. But when I went and actually got factual data, went in, I used Radio Monitor, which is a monitoring company that monitors different radio stations all around the world. And we used that for the Irish and the UK report. And it was that kind of going with that type of ammunition. We're going to call it ammunition, because, you know, it's a war of the sexes, and that's what it is. And if you go to something with not having the proper tools or the codes of conduct when facing a battle or any type of adversity or in adversity, you're not going to win, you know. So it was a lot of research, a lot of data crunching. It was great. And then just by pure coincidence, Ruth Ann had launched the Irish Women in Harmony, and I'd got in touch with Ruth Ann, and I was like, this is amazing, like, this is great what you're doing. And she said, oh, it's great what you're doing as well. And I said, well, look, why don't we team up together and keep pushing this agenda through? And she's, yeah, cool. So I read a few reports on data. I got in touch with Awaken the Feminists. I got in touch with a few different amazing collectives in Ireland, and I spoke to them about reports they'd done, and they were like, look, data is key, it's vital, it's power. knowledge is power. If you go out there and just, literally say, right, this is the data, these are the facts, this isn't my opinion, people just take you serious because it no longer is an angry woman.
I just love that because, I think for a lot of people, like coming up and being like, okay, well, I'm going to do a research study. I've never done anything before, but it's just also having that, I think behind it, it's truly having a passion of like wanting to serve and wanting to do what's right. I think a lot of people, when they're doing something creative or in business, they think, oh, I need to know everything about it and I need to. But like you said, as long as you have the facts and you have the data, and then your collaboration with other females just brought it to where it is today.
And you don't know something until you know it. If you go into life and think, oh God, I don't know this, I'm not going to put myself forward, that's bullshit. You don't know something until you know it. And I was actually reading a report on Women in Control. They have an amazing platform online. And they constantly put up kind of, facts and statistics and stuff. And one of them was that the majority of men that apply for roles, they mightn't even be well equipped. Like they might have 50% capacity of doing the actual role, but they'll blag their way because they feel, I can do this. But women, even though women might have 80 to 90% capacity to do a job, if they don't feel like they're up to scratch 100%, they'll be like, oh God, should I be doing this? Should I go for that role? Should I go for that promotion? Whereas men don't have that because women are so used to kind of constantly having to prove themselves, dealing with, oh, you're in your mood or you're on your period, so it's that kind of just being able to look ahead and to go, you know what, if I don't know something, I can easily learn,
Yeah, and having the confidence. So what advice would you give to women then who lack that confidence, but they want to move forward? What would be the best thing what would be the best advice you could give them?
Just to equip yourself. I'm actually just looking at this book and I just have to pick it up because this is one of the things that I read over COVID. And I reread it recently. It's called Cunt, and it's a feminist. It's actually the 20th anniversary, and I'm thinking to myself, if I had have read this when I was 20. My life would have changed very quickly as opposed to having 10 years on top of that before I did. But it's literally surrounding yourself with literature by women that have done significant things in terms of, what they've achieved in life. Because a lot of the time we grow up and we're subjected to reading male poetry. We're subjected to male literature, male mathematicians, male scientists, male historians, everything in history, everything that we learn academically, the majority of it is by men, so even as women, that's just, we're so out of touch with our femininity and our feminine energy. So I'd say to anybody that's listening is just to reconnect, and reading books like that, literature that can open your eyes and open your world.
I completely agree. I feel that, even with my business, I have a business called Dance It Out. And I think when I started out, I was kind of looking to a lot of male business leaders. And I was consuming loads of information from them. And I still, I think it's absolutely fantastic information.
Yeah.
But I also have to, I recognized over the course of my career that I am feminine and I am going to serve my clients and my customers and my students through the best way I can, which is being my feminine self. And I'm very lucky that I have two amazing women that are my best friends that also have their own businesses that understand that other side to me, because I know I've spoken to other people in business that are male and they wouldn't understand that the feelings that I would feel of, I want to do this for my customers. I want them to feel, I want to create an experience for them rather than. So I completely agree. I think women, we have so much power, and I think that, just knowing other women that are strong and not only strong, but in their power. So, Linda, I want to go back to the work that you're doing with your marketing, Goodseed PR.
So it's a music PR and marketing company. We're 12 years going now, 13 years. And yeah, there's a team of 5 of us, and it's an all female team. And yeah, we just, we support. I've worked with a lot of massive bands, and acts and people from Kat Von D to, Marilyn Manson to.
Amazing.
Oh my God, like so many people that I just would never have dreamt of working with, but I did. But while it was brilliant working with a lot of massive bands like Duran Duran, Madness, all these different things, I fundamentally started doing PR and doing marketing to promote and to break new artists. So I kind of stepped away from the major labels and from the big indie labels about 3 or 4 years ago, and just kind of refocused. Took a year and a half off for when my nana was ill, and then kind of when I came back, it was kind of a refocus on, harvesting new talent and developing new talent within the company. So that's kind of what we're about. We still do work a lot of big releases for international bands as well, which is great, and it's great to be able to do that. But what I love, like my real passion, is supporting new and emerging music and getting them from A to B and just kind of helping them on their way to what they want to achieve, So that's basically what the company is. And we work with radio, TV, press, online. And so that's basically what we do.
So for any emerging artists or musicians, what would be the advice for them to kind of really make a shift? Do you think that, especially in today's climate, maybe marketing is very essential, or what's your thoughts on that?
There's this big pressure on bands nowadays to be like independent bands, to do everything themselves, but they're musicians at the end of the day, and that should be their sole role as creatives. Because yes, you should be business savvy and aware of what you're doing and the decisions you're making, but if you're write music, producing the music, recording the music, performing, being the artist, the brand, the image, focus on that and delegate. Try and get a really good manager and build it up. Get savvy on your social media, because social media is everything. 80% of advertising and marketing is visual. And with COVID now, there's no gigs. Everything is on kind of lock and key, if you will. But yeah, so it's really just making sure that you're savvy with online promotion and having your brand. Because at the end of the day, a lot of artists, kind of integrity-led artists, go, I'm not a band, I'm a musician, or I'm a brand, I'm not a brand. And you're like, you are a brand, like you are a product. You are a business, and your product is you as an artist. So it's kind of learning to function that, and the functionality and what goes along with that territory and terrain. So if it's the case where you can't afford to hire PR, or you can't afford to hire a team of marketing experts, educate yourself in, being the best at managing your social media and curating decent content that's going to be user engaging.
If you look back now and you think, okay, look, these are all the things that I have achieved, has there been a moment where you're like, wow, like I'm really proud of myself?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I am such a high achiever that I don't think like that. I like my girls just look at me and go, Linda, like, babe, like you've achieved so much, and I'm like, no, I'm on to the next thing. That's just me as a person. I'm constantly on the go, and like even I always wanted to do an interview with the Times, and I did a few interviews with the Times there in the last few months, and it's like, and you see yourself with the massive papers and full page spreads and like the Sunday Business Post and all these different magazines, and you're just going, this is great, but you just quickly move on, like I do anyway, and it's just like, no, I need to do better, I need to do more, I need to get out to more people. I'll always remember, I just love Suzanne Vega. I think she's one of the best songwriters, wordsmiths to ever come out of the music world, period. She's just incredible. Understandably, she was always around Prince. The two of them hung out a lot in New York in that time of kind of Purple Rain and Tom's Diner and Luca and Marlena and stuff like that. And Suzanne was playing. I was working with Suzanne. I worked with Suzanne for a few years, and she was playing in Dublin, and I was doing a promo day with her. And I just remember kind of meeting them in the Gresham and getting the band like 6:30 in the morning. Everyone was half asleep, and they were touring, so they were all jaded, and I had to get them into the tour van. And I'd met loads of different people, like Jesus, everyone, like God. But Suzanne Vega to me was just, she's such an amazing poet. And so anyway, so we got into the van, and she's sitting there, and I've all these questions in my head. And she just kind of looks across at me, and I was just like, act cool. And she said, go on, ask me. No, you want to ask me something. And I said, like, where does your inspiration come from, Queen and the Soldier? And she just kind of looked at me and went, that is such a B-side track, you know. But to me, that song is just so powerful about feminine, like just the sacrifices women take to lead. And it's something that a lot of men don't have to do. It's called Queen of the Soldier. Listen to it by Suzanne Vega. It's just incredible. And she explained how she wrote the song and how it came to be and stuff. And then I asked her some other songs, and some she wrote in the bathtub. And, you know, I was just kind of like, but these are seminal songs that created such massive movements in music for women to be spotlighted as viably, able and capable writers. And it was just amazing. But definitely her. And then later on that night, we went over to RTE and we were doing some TV and radio, and Catherine Thomas was standing in for Ryan Tubridy, I think it was, and loads of the producers came into the kind of the gallery in, I think it was Studio 8 or something, and we were all looking down, and everyone was telling Suzanne what to do, and Suzanne just went, hang on, Linda is the boss. I was just like, oh my God. So she was like, I'll tell me what to do. Linda is the boss. Say it to her and then she'll tell me what to do because she's the boss. So I was just like,
pinch me.
My life is brilliant. And then they played in the Village that night, but the Village is now closed. It was a lovely venue, and she dedicated the song that I had asked her about earlier on that day. She was like, this is so that was one of my favorite moments that I think about, you know what, that was just so special. So I think that was it.
That is so good. I actually got chills. I would love if something like that happened. What an idol. So Linda, what's next? I know you have so many things planned, like you're always on to the next. I know you have a podcast coming up, so tell us a bit about it.
We're launching and we've so many amazing guests, launching the WhyNotHer podcast, which is going to be a series that starts in December. And then we're doing a report on one of the biggest countries in the world. So that's going to come out probably in January. So just really busy with that. I mean, they're two really big projects, and just working. The book that I mentioned earlier on that I started about 4 years ago, I just put that on the back burner when Nana was sick, so I'll probably end up finally editing that and putting it out at some stage next year. So yeah.
That is incredible. Linda, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for coming on the Vision Vixen podcast. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll be seeing you very, very soon.
Thanks a million for having me.